Welcome, everyone. Today, we're jumping into the world of Drew Binsky, someone who's, well, literally been everywhere, every single country on the planet.
It's quite an achievement, isn't it? Visiting 197 countries. We've sifted through his accounts to pull out some of the most striking insights.
Exactly. We're aiming to give you a condensed look at what someone learns from that kind of unique perspective. Think talking to people in North Korea or volunteering in Syria during the war.
These aren't just holidays, these are deep immersions. It gives him a vantage point on humanity that most of us just don't get access to.
Right. So our mission here really is to share those nuggets, those moments of understanding he gained that maybe challenge common perceptions or offer a fresh way of seeing things. What does the world look like when you've seen all of it up close?
And one of the first things that really jumps out from his experiences is, perhaps surprisingly, how similar people are, fundamentally.
Yeah, he talks about that a lot, this idea of shared humanity.
Yeah.
He mentioned spending time with tribes in Africa, right?
He did. And realizing that despite maybe very different lifestyles on the surface, their core concerns were, universal.
Taking care of family, wanting kids to do well,
Yeah.
the basics.
The exact same things you'd find anywhere. It cuts through a lot of the noise, that observation.
And connected to that, he found people overwhelmingly welcoming. He puts a number on it, something like 99% positive interactions.
Which is pretty staggering when you consider some of the places he's been. Places that, let's be honest, often get painted with a very different brush in the media.
Absolutely. Iran, for example. He consistently talks about the incredible warmth and hospitality he experienced there. He's even planning a third trip, I think.
Yes. Which might surprise some listeners, given the political narrative we often hear.
And it wasn't just Iran. He mentioned Russia, too. Despite all the political tension, he found ordinary people were curious, open, wanted to chat with an American.
It really makes you question the gap between headlines and, well, human-level reality on the ground.
Totally. People are just people most of the time. It seems the news focuses on the exceptions, the conflicts.
Which is understandable, but it can definitely skew our perception of entire countries or populations. Drew's experiences are a powerful counterpoint to that.
And that brings us neatly to how his travels often directly challenge those media narratives. North Korea is a prime case.
Definitely. He describes Pyongyang as, isolated, tightly controlled, these huge empty buildings, that pyramid hotel, almost eerie.
But then, amidst all that, he gets invited to play tennis with a local guide. A simple human interaction.
A moment of connection that seems almost out of place in that context, but maybe speaks volumes.
And then there's Afghanistan.
Yeah.
That's another one where his experience seems quite different from the dominant story.
Hugely different. He talks about positive experiences, remarkable hospitality, even around the time the Taliban regained control. And he mentioned friends who've been since and said similar things.
It's not to ignore the huge problems and the political reality, of course not. But it complicates the picture.
It forces you to see it as more than just one thing. He even told the story of the last Jewish man living in Afghanistan, maintaining his synagogue in Kabul.
Wow. That's incredible. Just layers upon layers of reality that often get missed.
And he noticed something interesting in countries with, let's say, a bad reputation, like El Salvador.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
That the locals often seem to go the extra mile to be welcoming, almost to consciously counteract the negative image. Like they wanted to show him, hey, that's not who we really are.
That makes sense. A kind of citizen diplomacy. He found something similar even in, was it a favela in Brazil?
Parasopolis in Sao Paulo. He acknowledged the risks, the crime exists, but said the people he met were friendly, open, welcoming him into their community.
It shows that danger and warmth can coexist, I suppose. It's rarely just one thing.
Which leads to how he actually manages to navigate these places. It looks spontaneous, maybe even reckless sometimes.
Right. You see the videos and think, how does he just wander into these situations?
But behind the scenes, there's a lot of preparation. Crucially, he relies on trusted local contacts, guides, fixers, people who know the ground.
He really emphasized vetting them, didn't he?
Yeah.
Doing video calls, planning things out. It's not just random luck.
No, definitely not. That groundwork is key to his safety record, which is pretty remarkable considering the places he's been.
And it's not just logistics, it's cultural understanding, too.
Yeah.
Especially somewhere like Syria. Knowing the history, the sensitivities.
Absolutely. Knowing what not to say, where not to go. But he also mentioned developing a kind of intuition over time. Pattern recognition.
Like a sixth sense for navigating tricky situations.
Something like that, born from just, immense experience. And a baseline of trust, interestingly.
How so?
He tends to trust people he meets, whether through his travels or his online following, until they give him a reason not to, which apparently hasn't happened often.
It's quite an optimistic approach. He mentioned Anthony Bourdain as an influence too, focusing on people over sites.
Yeah, he's less interested in, say, the perfect mountain view in Switzerland and more in the conversation you can have with someone there. It's about the human story.
Speaking of complex situations, his entry into Syria was quite something. How did he manage that?
Through a volunteer visa, actually. He went with a French Christian NGO doing relief work.
Wow, so he was right there, amidst the aftermath of heavy fighting.
Yes, and he described interviewing people literally surrounded by rubble, but finding this surprising resilience, people talking about the future, about rebuilding.
That's hard to fathom, the strength people find.
It really puts the media portrayal into perspective. He also made a point of reminding people that Syria, before the war, was this vibrant place.
Right, a major tourist destination, incredible history, Mesopotamia, even beaches on the Mediterranean.
Things that get completely overshadowed by the images of conflict we see now. It's a tragic loss.
When you ask travelers about their most impactful trip, you get varied answers. For Drew, though, one country stood out.
India. Without hesitation, he called it his most transformative journey.
Why India, specifically?
The intensity, the extremes, he said it just hit him on every level. Sensory overload.
He told an anecdote, didn't he? About seeing something quite shocking and then something beautiful on the same day.
Yeah, seeing a dead body in the street in the morning and then visiting the majesty of the Taj Mahal in the afternoon. That kind of stark contrast packed into one experience.
And just constant interaction.
Yeah.
Right, hard to be alone there.
Very. And English is widely spoken, so you're always communicating. He acknowledged the challenges to scams, getting sick. He was even in a bus crash.
Yet he still wants to go back.
Desperately. Which kind of sums up the complex relationship many travelers have with India. It's overwhelming, challenging, but also deeply captivating. A real love-hate thing sometimes.
Going to so many intense places like Syria, like parts of Afghanistan, Mogadishu. Does he get desensitized? Does the fear fade?
It's a fair question. He sort of acknowledges that, yeah, maybe his baseline for what feels dangerous has shifted quite a bit.
He talked about Mogadishu, having an armed convoy and then a hotel nearby getting bombed shortly after he left. And he seemed relatively calm recounting it.
There's definitely an element of luck involved, which he admits, but also maybe a different relationship with risk. He talks about the adrenaline, sure, but also feeling like a messenger.
A messenger? In what sense?
Bringing back stories from places that are often misunderstood or ignored, feeling a responsibility to show the human side of these dangerous places.
That's a powerful motivator. It reflames the risk, perhaps.
It seems to. It's not just thrill-seeking. There's a purpose behind it for him.
He also played a little game of overrated, underrated in one of the interviews. Any interesting takeaways there?
Yeah, a few. Government was tricky. Depends entirely on the context, he felt. Sometimes vital, sometimes less so.
Makes sense. What about underrated?
Culture. Hugely underrated, in his view. He pointed to, like, East Asian cultures, the respect, the community, the family ties.
Contrasting it with maybe more individualistic Western cultures?
Exactly. Not saying one is better, but highlighting the different values and the strengths you find in that strong community focus. Though there are trade-offs, of course. Less individual drive, perhaps.
Interesting point. Anything else stand out?
War being underrated. Which sounds odd, but he meant for the people living in or near conflict zones. It's not just the fighting, it's the constant psychological stress, the background radiation of fear, even when things are quiet.
That's a sobering thought. The unseen toll. He also had a point about modern media, didn't he?
Yeah, a concern that the fast pace and maybe lack of historical context in some media could be hindering a deeper understanding of global issues. Nuance gets lost.
So after visiting every country, what's next for Drew Binsky? Just stop.
Doesn't sound like it. He wants to go deeper, tell more involved stories, elevate the content, focus more on the why and the who, not just the where.
Continuing that storytelling mission.
Exactly. And then there was the unexpected passion.
Oh, right. Golf.
Who knew? He's really into it, tries to play in different countries. It says it's crucial for just switching off his brain after all the intensity.
Finding that balance. He even has a favorite course somewhere exotic.
Vietnam, apparently. Sachem Sien Lam golf course. It highlights that need, doesn't it, for everyone, no matter how adventurous, to have something that grounds them, provides that mental reset.
Absolutely. A mindful activity away from the constant stimulation.
Well, that brings us towards the end of this look at Drew Binsky's journey. What really stays with me is that core message about human connection.
Definitely. Across all the borders, all the differences, that fundamental similarity he kept finding. It's quite hopeful, isn't it?
It is, and also the need to look beyond the headlines, to question the narratives we're fed and seek out, you know, the ground truth, or at least more diverse perspectives.
We saw how important trust and really understanding the culture is, especially when you're off the beaten path.
And the resilience people show in incredibly difficult circumstances. Syria, Afghanistan.
Right.
It's humbling.
It really makes you think about the power of just stepping outside your own bubble, engaging with the world in a more direct way.
Drew's travels are an extreme example, obviously. But maybe they encourage us all to just be a bit more curious, to look for those stories that don't always make the front page.
Yeah, to consider how our own views might be shaped by limited information and the value in hearing directly from different parts of the world, being that messenger, like he aims to be.
Sharing those diverse human experiences definitely fosters a greater sense of empathy, I think, a more nuanced view of our complex world.
A valuable pursuit indeed.
Agreed.
See you soon.